Welcome, everyone, to the Horrorcast, episode 71. I am your host, Matrix Lord 212, and I'm with Scott. What's up, Scott?
Hello, one and all.
What's up, Mike D?
Shit.
All right. So, we got the news that, I don't know if it's because Blair Witch didn't do what the company expected it to do, but a lot of movie companies are getting scared to release horror movies, and one of these companies, Paramount Pictures, made a decision to delay Friday the 13th for the either third or fourth time. And instead of it coming out in January now, it's coming out October of 2017.
I don't know if it's more, say, about a horror flick, but what they need to get rid of, I can't remember if this new one was a found footage thing too, right?
No, okay. They scrapped it. It wasn't going to be.
I was going to say they were probably getting, I think it's just they're getting tired of probably remakes of just that movie.
And they're doing a sequel to Rings. It's like a soft reboot. It's Rings movie.
Is Blair Witch out?
Blair Witch is out.
Oh, shit.
And came out last week or the week before.
Oh.
And people really didn't take to it like they expected.
Well, duh.
Yeah, because, I don't think there was enough marketing behind it. It was just, like, thrown out all of a sudden, like, oh, here we go, Blair Witch movie. It made $21 million, but it had a $5 million budget, so I guess it's a success, but they expected it to be like $100 million. So, it's not $100 million, that's for sure.
It's no Ghostbusters movie.
No, it's no Ghostbusters movie. Actually, it's funny, too, because American Horror Story has something similar to what Blair Witch is, the Roanoke Nightmare, which they were... Roanoke, thank you. I keep saying that wrong.
Yeah, Roanoke, Virginia.
Roanoke, yeah.
That's the lost colony, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So they're that's been in American Horror Story, and people, when Blair Witch came out, they're like, all right. Nobody, I even didn't. I'll have my review of it tomorrow, though. I will make sure I see it.
Do I need to see this Blair Witch right away? I mean, it looked like it'd be entertaining.
I think it's out on Rainier Land. I got to look again.
It's not, from what I understand it, I don't think there's not a lot of people saying it's great. That's for sure. So I don't know. It's probably better than the second one, because the second one sucked. But.
Something I've noticed with horror films, being the horror aficionado that I am, having lived through different, aspects of, the horror genre, from, the slashers to the supernatural thrillers and all that, it seems a lot more difficult to do horror with cell phones and the internet for some reason. When Halloween was out, a lot of the suspense relied on the fact that you didn't have access to communication with others or the outside world. And short of doing something like Night of the Living Dead, where people are trapped in a house and there's no power, so it would relegate it to something inconsequential, not having internet access or cell phone access. It's tough to have a horror film that's not just supernatural, because having people Don't Breathe. I was curious how they were going to handle that, and then they kind of used the excuse, oh well, there's poor cell phone coverage in this area. Oh, how convenient. But it's just tough to do that now. But even with Scream, Sydney was able to get on the internet and dial up to ask for help and whatever. But it's tough to do a slasher film today unless you just have it set up where people are going to the mountains and they've agreed we're going to be away from technology, and they just set it up that way.
I would love to see a Friday the 13th movie where people are running from Jason, calling their cell phone, and then calling back up. We haven't really had that.
He takes the phone and smashes it down their throat.
Why can't we do something realistic? Why can't we do it where the guy's running from Jason? He calls up his friends. These stupid idiots don't know any better, these jocks. And then they all try to rendezvous to jump Jason, and he kicks their ass, all of them. Just like they should do something different. oh, I'm calling for help. I'm by the third trail on this. And the next thing you know, Jason, who's chasing after him, these people on Jason, and they're like, oh, you're fucked. Because he's just going to, they should do shit like that. Don't keep doing like when Jason's chasing after somebody. Do it where they're like, now with technology, this is what happens, but it backfires for them. That's what they should do.
Because it'd be great if they had like the first kill, they would have like these like really just like brainless twit like chicks that are there taking selfies and doing duck face, and like Michael Myers shows up and cuts it through.
See, what I would do is, if I was writing the Friday the 13th script, I would have it sequel from the New York one where he somehow got back to Crystal Lake, right? But I would have it where the town is so trained to know that this is their shit that they have to deal with all the time. They can't get rid of him. He's like fucking like a cockroach or like a mosquito or whatever. So they train their kids like fucking martial arts. Mm-hmm. They have special fucking weapons in all their house. I
got a better idea. What if, because using common sense, you would just fucking move out of Crystal Lake area. Why not make it a condoned like town or city, and then send people in there whose job it is to eradicate Jason, but he could be anywhere in the whole city, and they set up like a hub there, and they send their people out like to go get Jason, and like they could have him picked off that way with things.
Well, they already did that kind of with the.
Or even yet. You have them out there, but they're disguised as just regular common folk. So when Jason does come to get them, surprise, surprise, you got somebody who's going to ask kick.
See, when you start doing something like that, then you lose the mysticism of it. So the whole thing is to keep it where it's Crystal Lake's problem, where you don't have freaking people come with rocket launchers like the Army. Because when they did that shit with Jason Goes to Hell, where they set a trap for him, they blew his fucking head off and shit like that. That sucked. And then they said later on that was never really happened. It was just in his mind, I guess.
Well, you could have like some of the sequels that they had were that after like the first film, they had people that kind of accidentally found their way onto Crystal Lake property inadvertently. What they could do is they could make it a larger picture. They could like condemn the whole town or the whole city, and then you can have people that are like maybe like some teens that are like because this would be a great continuation of how this whole series originally started. Was you can have them just on a larger scale instead of it being just a localized area. You can have them talking about this curse of Jason story that keeps getting passed on. Instead of it being Crystal Lake, it could be like the whole town. And then they get some sort of thing where they're like, hey, let's go into the town. Instead of it just being Crystal Lake, we're going to go into the town. The whole town's condemned. It's a ghost town. And you can have it set up that way to where they go in there, or it's like some sort of like college initiation thing, or some sort of group of people that are like, oh, well, we're going to go in there. We don't believe all this Jason shit. This town's just a dead ghost town now, and no one's there. And that's how you can introduce them into the whole area. And you have a much larger area to deal with, kind of like Haddonfield with Michael Myers, instead of just a little camp.
Right.
It could even go the route of maybe Texas Chainsaw, where people's mindset have just gotten so warped with Jason that would go with Mike Dees, and then you find out that all this time it was actually different people of the town who just wanted to keep their nice, serene lifestyle, but you have all these kids coming in, screwing things up, and
like Scooby-Doo, those pesky kids.
Right. I mean, I kind of hope that they would bring Corey Feldman back into the picture. Where
as long as he's not singing.
Listen, you got to feel for the guy, because he actually believes that that stuff is blockbuster material. He doesn't know any better because people are not advising him correctly. And even the way he did his graphics, he did his thing. It was like you could do it better on the computer. But like, still, I would like to see him act and be in multiple movies. Have one go with Jason. Mm-hmm. That would be pretty cool. Probably make some money there doing that too. But I prefer the thing where the town is all trained. Like, why can't we see Jason fight in the snow? We never see that either. when the wintertime. You don't see Jason in the wintertime. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? Like,
Yeah, but
snowmobiles. You could make it like a For Your Eyes Only, but with Jason, with like snowmobiles and shit, and everybody trying to like.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it would be.
skiing.
Wouldn't it be creepier though? With if you had the whole town trained, and the whole town's there's people living in this town. There's like people everywhere. Why don't you just have it like a ghost town where it's like people going in there? And I mean,
because these people are stubborn. These people are fucking stubborn. Where they don't want nobody to know about their problem, but they said that they'll just deal with them themselves. So people that will have like weapons in all their freaking houses. They'll have like their cell phones. They'll have like all of them are trained, and then Jason will still kill them all. But it will be more interesting because there'll be all these different elements. You know,
where I knew that the Halloween franchise kind of went off the rails was in like at the end of that one Halloween where you find out from like part 4 to 5 that he's been living with a hermit like under the bridge at the creek for like a year. I mean, come on, for a year he's just been hanging out like in this little hut like Luke did with Yoda at Dagobah. You know, like just hanging out there drinking soup and. You know,
I mean. 5 went so many different directions than I expected it to be. I mean, the little girl, she had the clown outfit on, like she was going to kill. And Loomis is like, no, and he's like,
yes.
I thought that was a great end. That was a fantastic ending.
Go on, get out of here. Get out now.
But then 5, like, she has a psychic link with her uncle. And I'm like, what the F is that? Like, you know? And then this guy with the boots and freeze him in the prison. It's like, what kind of shit is that? Like, and then they ruined it with Curse on Michael Myers because it was like this, they inject, like, that's supposed to keep him alive, this drug that's making him super strong. They ruined that whole shit. I don't know.
Yeah. Resurrection was the worst, though. I could deal with Curse because Curse had to go to Atmosphere. And it had like it encapsulated the 90s well with what they were doing in that, but I mean Resurrection just sucked.
I can't accept Curse as a movie because why would he impregnate his niece with a baby?
Well, baby was from the mountains like a hillbilly, and he was like, you know,
but
you got a pretty mouth.
Or Jerry Lee Lewis.
That's like that.
Was he listening to Jerry Lee Lewis music?
Isn't he supposed to be a force of evil? Like, why would he now be human and have sex and have a kid? Like,
he was an early Jared Fogle. There we go.
No, but it doesn't make any sense. Like that movie should have never happened. You know,
I watched an interview with John Carpenter yesterday where somebody in the audience asked him about Rob Zombie's remake. And Carpenter actually was kind of a little bit stiff with Rob Zombie. And I don't like Rob Zombie's films. I think they're kind of Hot Topics rehash of like hipster horror. But what he said was he told this is what he said. He goes, I told Rob, go ahead, do it. Do your own thing. You know, go with it, run with it the way you want with things. But apparently he was saying that Rob Zombie came out and was saying that he had pushback from John Carpenter about the fact that he was doing a remake to his film. And he said that's a lie. He said that he had a falling out with Rob Zombie because he believed that Rob lied it and misconstrued what happened. And he basically, well, he actually said this. He said that he thought Rob Zombie's a piece of shit. And he actually said that.
Right.
But he said what I've always told you ever since we've been doing these casts, and it was almost like word per word what I've said about the Rob Zombie Halloweens, which is they took the character of Michael Myers and they explained too much. They demystified him. And right. Carpenter, I mean, it sounded exactly like what I've said. Because he even used the verbiage of saying that Michael Myers is supposed to be a force of nature. He's like evil incarnate. He's not supposed to be explained away like some abused kid or whatever. And he said,
that's bullshit. That was bullshit. They ruined that. It's in the second Rob Zombie one went in directions. I don't know what the fuck with the fucking ghost lady, mother,
unicorns.
I don't know what the fuck that was.
Was it a horse? There was a horse she was with, or a unicorn or something?
The only thing that sucks is they have cool scenes with, Danielle Harris?
Yeah.
Like, they're great, that she's great in it, but how can it exist if it sucks so bad? It's like, you don't even want to go back and watch it. It's like shit, you know? But you want to have Danielle Harris in the next one somehow because she just fits with it. Like, she's really good, whatever she plays, in the role. So
I got to tell you, Salem's Lot came out this week on Blu-ray.
Oh,
one of our favorites.
That was good. Yeah. I'd
Yeah,
forgotten that one too. I was thinking, every time I see that, I keep thinking it was a TV movie, but no, it was out on the big screen.
Well, they did it as a TV miniseries originally, but then they might have edited. I know they have a miniseries version, and then they have like a TV movie version or something. But I mean, I remember it was on like it was like CBS or ABC, one of those deals, like back in the day. Because I remember as a kid, that always scared the shit out of me. It was
it was very terrifying.
Yeah. That kid at the window scratching.
Our Phantasm, Ravager, that's coming out.
Yeah, and they've recently done a 4K restoration of the original Phantasm, which is going to be coming out before the end of the year from what they're reporting.
Yeah, I got to get J.J. Abrams' version of it. Like, he worked on it, his people, so.
They just need to keep him away from doing a reboot of that.
I'm telling you, he's going to probably want him doing it.
Just stop with that shit already.
Yeah.
Jesus.
They reboot everything.
And then
they don't stop.
In that same interview, John Carpenter was talking about that very thing, and he said that the reason why they've been remaking so many horror films, he said, horror's been around since the inception of film. It's been a mainstay. It's a genre that's very popular. That a lot of money is spent in marketing with putting out advertising for these films. But when you're remaking a classic, like some of these 80s films, with the Friday the 13th, the Halloweens and stuff, they're having to spend less money on the advertising because of word of mouth. Like the prevailing thought is, oh, well, I went with my brother or sister to go see this when I was a young kid, and then now they've rebooted it. It's coming back in the theaters.
Right. You don't need to advertise. Right.
Yeah.
Just like Friday the 13th, when that comes out, they're not going to spend tons of money on it. They can spend $5 million to make it, and they'll make $100. Well, they should make like $50, $100 million profit. I mean, see, the thing is that the Conjuring series is like making so much money. They spent like a couple million. They made hundreds of millions of dollars, right? Yeah. Second one, same thing. They spinned off Annabelle. That was a success. Yeah. They're making Annabelle 2.
Yeah,
they have the Nun they're doing now, and they're doing a Conjuring 3. So that series is set. They got 2 spin-offs, and they got the Conjuring. They need to learn from that. But instead, why is Paramount afraid for Friday the 13th to lose money, right? If all you're going to spend is $5 million, I mean, how much do you really need to spend?
I think they're thinking about Rob's, like Mike says, they're so afraid that it's going to end up being something like a Rob Zombie. So it's let's shove that to the side for right now. And
see, but the thing is, that the budget,
sure thing on.
You really don't need. First of all, Friday the 13th. One of the bullshit about we haven't got the script right. What script? What are you talking about? You're fucking putting him in Crystal Lake. He's killing people, right? What kind of a story?
Like we said, I think the taste has become so sophisticated. Like we're all thinking the same thing.
Why does it have to be sophisticated?
Why not cell phone?
No, but I don't understand. Why is this? They're making this like they're writing Shakespeare's sequel or something.
Well, the other problem that needs to be addressed with horror films is that, like, let's say like the early to mid 80s, like the period I grew up watching these when I was like 10 or whatever, 10 to 15 years old. The thing back then was horror films, when you went to go see a R-rated film, it's like, you would sneak in to see this, or it was considered kind of like on the fringe, like, horror, like Dawn of the Dead and these like gory gut muncher sort of films.
See, my father took me to see everything.
They were always pushing the envelope, which made it sort of a fringe thing. But see, now the real world's caught up with that sort of thing to where people can go on the internet and they can watch people getting shot on YouTube and, people in car accidents. And so we've been desensitized to kind of that fringe element to where they have to kind of up the game to get people to go into the theater to watch.
But this concept that this guy was talking about, why it was delayed 3 times, he's like, well, we didn't get the script ready. when they made these movies back then, they weren't fucking delaying it because of a script.
No.
In fact, some of the sequels that they came out were fucking ridiculous, where they didn't even fucking care what direction they went. I mean, I gotta say the most embarrassing thing of the Friday the 13th franchise, I'm not even talking about Go to Hell or 10, right? When you have a fucking movie and the character's not even in his own fucking movie, like 5, to me that's like a black spot because it's like...
Oh, you're hating on Friday 5, man.
No, I am. I don't care if you killed the guy in the toilet. I gotta tell you, no.
You gotta go. You gotta go.
I'm telling you, I could watch the whole series and I don't need to see 5 because nothing in 5 happens.
You're a 5 hater.
I am a 5 hater.
Well, do you hate Halloween 3? Are you one of those people?
No, actually, Halloween 3 was one of my.
You're an anti-5 guy.
No, actually, Halloween 3 was one of my favorite movies, even though it didn't have anything to do with Michael Myers.
Yeah, I agree.
Halloween, but because I just loved the thing. But the thing is, it's like that thing we already had. Like 5, it's just don't do shit like that. That bothers me. Like just.
If you watch, sorry, there might be a slight delay. If you watch Crystal Lake Memories that we were talking about a couple of weeks ago, I got that on Blu-ray. They released it at big box store for I think it was like $6.99 is what I got it for. So it's definitely worth watching. It's about 7 hours long, and it covers the whole Friday franchise from 1 all the way through to the remake,
right?
The reboot. They go into detail and they explain why they went that avenue that they did with Friday 5, and it makes sense in the context of the franchise, what they were doing at the time.
Right.
And if you learn a lot about what went on behind the scenes as to why they were doing some of this stuff, it makes sense. And like you said, I mean, Friday 5 is not one of the ones that I go back and revisit often, but I don't hate it as much as I do some of the ones that followed. And I think it really started to lose it after 6. And I mean, part 7 was filmed about not even half an hour from where I'm sitting right now. That's kind of why one of the reasons that I have a fondness for that film is because I've been in the film location.
I was okay with 7 and 8. When I was a kid, I loved 8, but when I grew up knowing that I go to New York all the time, I was pissed off that it wasn't even in New York for a minute or two. But I mean. I'm okay with 8. The thing I have a problem with is when they sold Jason to New Line. And New Line did this weird shit with the souls like Freddy Krueger where a mystical blade from the 1800s kills Jason and he has a sister and all this shit. That was like, what the fuck are you doing?
I do not acknowledge that New Line. I don't either. Just like I don't acknowledge the zombie films in the real.
The way I see the Friday the 13th franchise is that 8 was the last one, and then you continue on from there. And the way I also see it is that the girl was injected with drugs where she believed that he became a child because she was cracked out, and that he just is normal in the sewer in a thing and just gets out of there.
Well, then how do they get him back from New York back to Crystal Lake? Because that doesn't even make sense how he went from Crystal Lake to New York, because Crystal Lake's an enclosed lake. How are they on, boats, yachts and stuff?
I have no fucking clue, but the thing is that they would have to get him back to Crystal Lake somehow. That's another difficult thing. Unless, of course, you could do the tie-in where Tommy Jarvis was just in fucking New York, and then it's like, oh, shit, Jason's going after him, and he's like, fuck this, and he... What
if they had a group of people that had some other agenda to get Jason back to Crystal Lake because of some thing that they have going on, to get the murders continuing to go on?
Well, they could do a thing where that Jason, because I wouldn't have him there for decades. They could do a thing with Jason where he starts killing people, and then they find out, oh shit, this is Crystal Lake's problem. We can't kill him, but we got to get the F out of here. And then they just get him on a boat or somehow get him that way.
Or they put him on a boat to blow it up and sink it, but something goes bad and he gets out that way and,
ends up on The Walking Dead.
Right.
Floats up on shore at the beach.
But then you have Freddy vs. Jason, which do you acknowledge that one or not really?
No.
Not yeah. So I mean, I just would do it. I mean, Paramount had it for years, thanks to Christopher Nolan. They could have did like fucking 5 movies. Like, just, it's not that difficult. They waste time trying to get it on the on cable and CW. Like, fuck CW. That shit fell through, thank God. But like that, you wasted your whole time. Now you got this movie, and now you have less than a year to put it out, or else you can't even put it out. So like, put it out already, and don't make it like shit either. You know. But of course, this is going to be a reboot, which is not fucking cool.
Oh, God.
I mean, the reboot that Michael Bay did was fucking horrendous. That they tried to make Friday the 13th 1, 2, and 3 in the same movie with this fucking locket that he doesn't kill anybody that wears his mother's locket. That was fucking retarded. So they ruined that too. So
that Crystal Lake documentary is interesting because it pointed out some things I wasn't aware of, and that they really didn't put to the forefront of your attention when you were watching.
Well, let me ask you a question about that, because I didn't watch that, but wasn't the concept originally with 5 because they killed Jason, so they had to have, you know, something where it carries on the series with a new killer, and then Tommy was supposed to be the killer at the end of 5, and then people rebelled against it because isn't that the case, that people wanted Jason back, they weren't accepting that Tommy could be a killer or whatever, and then they changed it back the way it was for 6?
They said that they were legitimately going to end. That's why they brought Tom Savini back, was he was going to kill his creation, Jason. So they brought it back. They had another effects artist that was going to do part 4, and something got tied up with him to where, like, they needed somebody else. They got a hold of Savini, and Savini was available, so they brought him in. But it's something like that, from what I recall, that they were gonna leave it at that, where like they gave you this impression that the Jason curse was going to continue, but they were just going to leave it out in the open like that. But then they ended up coming back, you know, and doing more and more and more and more. But the one guy in the final chapter, part 4, that was the camper, that was like the main guy in that. Mm-hmm. They tie him in to one of the other characters from one of the earlier films. That's his younger sister that got killed by Jason. That's why he's out looking for Jason.
Right.
And they pointed out that continuity time-wise, that things don't add up, because that movie is supposed to take place like the following day for Friday the 13th, part 3.
Right.
And the ambulance shows up. They bring Jason to the morgue at the beginning and all that stuff. But some of the stuff he talks about happened years before, like in part 2. He references it like years, but that's not the amount of time that went by. So there's a lot of inconsistencies they point out in the documentary that are quite interesting.
They can always do prequels, though, to fill in the gaps. Like, where he killed other people. Because, you know, we only see what he killed on film. But it's supposed to be like he kills people all the time. You know. In fact, there's some type of weird period where he just doesn't kill at all. I don't know why.
Yeah, you would think they would kind of get the point, maybe we shouldn't go to Crystal Lake anymore.
Yeah.
People would just stop and they don't give a shit.
It's like Haddonfield, you know. Let's move from Crystal Lake to Haddonfield. I hear that's a safe town. Or move to Elm Street.
It's funny, but when you're traveling and like this Haddonfield and this Voorhees, and I'm like, oh, that's where they got the idea for the name. Voorhees, like when you see the towns or the streets or whatever, like they're close to each other or something. It's like, okay.
Well, that's why I like the originality of My Bloody Valentine, one of your and my favorite slasher flicks. You know, you had the Nova Scotia town where they shot that in Canada. It was that's a great setting with the mines and how desolate and atmospheric that film was.
Yeah.
And then they had to remake that, and it wasn't quite shit, but it was pretty close to being shit.
There was a movie that they remade.
Because that was one of the ones I saw on HBO.
Anyway, the Friday the 13th thing, this movie that they're supposed to have, they're supposed to explain how he comes back to life all the time. And they're supposed to have his father, which I'm like, what are you going to do? Like, I guess this is going to be, he's got to have the hockey mask, because if he has the freaking pillowcase, he's going to be like, shit. You know,
Pillowcase Jason's coming for my ass.
I mean, it's all right, you know, but I got to have the hockey mask. And that I really enjoyed 6. That was one of my favorites, too, with the lightning bolt hitting him and that whole shit. That was great.
Did they ever explain what happened to Jason's father?
See, my whole thing, I was talking about this in other Horrorcasts. Somebody buried him, like with a grave. They spent money, a nice grave, nice stone, you know? Like, I honestly always felt that his father was like a congressman or something. Maybe he was divorced from the mother, but he just still did his obligation, like buried his son or whatever. Because, like, wouldn't they bury him, like, just throw him in the ground somewhere, Potter's Field, not even have a stone or nothing? The Crystal Lake, they're not going to pay for it. No. You know, and then somebody lied and said that they cremated him.
Hold on a minute. There's your story. It ties in what we're all talking about. There's a way to bring Jason back from New York now. You know, we're talking about having a group with another agenda. You can have somebody politically connected that is, i.e. the congressman father that you're asserting that Jason has, bringing him back for his own agenda to, like, you know, to bring him back because he knows Jason's going to be murdering, killing people and stuff to, like, get more money allotted for defense and police departments there. And I mean, I know it sounds stupid, like, because, you know, people do crazy shit like that.
Right.
But, you know, get him back there for another agenda and dump him back in Crystal Lake to start killing again for, like, an ulterior motive. And that, you know, you could introduce a whole nother.
So what I would expect to see.
They could have somebody set it up to where, oh, look at all the crime that's going on, murder, blah, 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 blah. And then come to find out they're the one that orchestrated the fact that because they know that they're going to be the ones to solve the crime to get elected. They're going to kill Jason. They're going to bring him back with the idea that, well, we can handle Jason. We're going to let him go on his killing spree, but we've got a unit that we're going to send in there. We're going to dispatch him when it suits our needs during election time. We're going to off Jason and show Crystal Lake that we ridded the world of or whatever, you know, ridded the town of this guy. And that somehow that doesn't quite work out for them.
Right. See, I would have a thing where if you're going to introduce his father, like, he could show up in Crystal Lake, and then all of a sudden he's about to kill somebody. He sees his father, and he doesn't kill him. Because it's like, then you're like, oh, shit, why is he killing this guy? Now, then you learn it's his father. Like, there's no way, circumstance he would kill his father, just like he wouldn't kill his mother. You know, but his father's a sinister bastard anyway that takes advantage of Jason's whatever the fuck he is. I mean, I don't know if I would go the route where his mother was a witch and shit like that, because that's kind of ridiculous. I mean, but still, maybe somebody cast a spell or something on him, like when he drowned, like somebody tried to help him or whatever that you don't know about. That would be more believable than the mother, because the mother she didn't look like she was a witch or so that was like a weird with it. Now when they had the Necronomicon and shit like that, that's I don't go by any of the New Line stuff with that stuff.
Well, see, that's a good way to get like Corey Feldman and a couple of the Survivor girls from like some of the earlier films back, is that they know what's going on. They know the conspiracy that's going on at Crystal Lake with the agenda to bring Jason back for the killing, and that they get like say 2 or 3 of them into the storyline to like try and expose what's going on, because they're the survivors and they want to kill Jason and expose what's going on.
Well, they could have a thing where, you know, he's in some type of suspended thing in New York. Like maybe they have a thing where he's drugged, where he's put under. And then they says, well, we can't. Yeah, and they said we can't keep doing this because we're spending like millions of dollars to like keep him sedated. That we got to just bring him home because we can't deal with this anymore. Like it could be.
So that's where you have the father. That's where you reintroduce. You could do something to where maybe the mother.
Well, the father could be running for office.
Actually,
the father could be running for office, and he has all this opposition.
Yeah.
Lake. So then he brings the son back, kills everybody off, and it's like, you know, he has his own.
They could have like the police like stop Jason in the middle of the road walking down the street to Crystal Lake and get out of the car, and like they do like the whole thing where they're gonna like shoot him, and cops like, let's see the hands, and Jason like rips the guy's arm off and holds his hand
Yeah,
up.
with everybody's attitude about cops nowadays, that would be a good one.
Yeah,
You never seen Jason fight a whole bunch of people at the same time. But they could start doing that in this movie because it wouldn't make any sense if like, you know how he always goes to pick off people one by one? But people try to be strict. Then you would actually have to have Jason fight with all these people at the same time. Like with the police, too. That was like cool a little bit with 6, where it's like, you know, he was dealing with them. So you could have had a thing where maybe the husband, the father, had people in his cabinet that was just weird, like psychics and witches, and maybe that's how the son came back from that. Because I wouldn't definitely do it with the mother. I wouldn't definitely not have that, you know.
Yeah, they could have the politicians involved in like some sort of like occult practices.
Right.
And they summoned Jason back from the dead.
Yeah, and then they didn't realize what would happen, but then he uses it to his advantage. Like
they think they can control him as after they summon him from the dead, like control him as like a vessel for their agenda, and that doesn't quite go.
Yeah, they send them after their competition, but after a while,
like he could have wanted Crystal Lake to everybody be killed off, so they don't rebuild a camp there, so they could build houses there or land or something.
Or better yet, here we go. They wanted to keep Crystal Lake as this like peaceful New England like setup, but because they had all this corporate stuff coming in, wanting to build it up. We don't want that. We want to keep it nice and family friendly. Bring Jason in, and then at the same time, even though they're the ones that bring Jason in, they try to make it seem as though they're trying to stop Jason, when in reality they're backing him to try to prevent.
What if you actually do where Jason has been away for decades and trapped in the sewers, and then finally somehow gets back to Crystal Lake, and he finds out there's a freaking shopping mall over Crystal Lake. Well, like all different shit, and he's like, it's so different. Like, you know? I mean, like they just built
What? Go after somebody from Starbucks.
See Jason, it'd be like a weird twist with Jason killing people in the mall. That'd be crazy.
Well, we got to
Sears. Stalk people in the lingerie department.
Yeah, we say Mikey?
Oh, I was just thinking like some fantastical sort of like extremes you can go where like maybe Jason, you know, like there's this thing going around the internet about the Hillary death list. You know, Hillary was like connected with New York, and Crystal Lake's supposed to be in New York. Maybe they can utilize Jason for Hillary's death list, and he's the one like carrying out the hits. You know, there you go.
Make a play on her name.
Yeah, like
You could
Hillary Hinton.
You could do a twist like when you get it back to Crystal Lake where somebody else tries to murder people and rain in on his parade, and he just takes them out. But they're like, you know, some new killer.
Yeah, make the politician a female and have her made up like Hillary, to where it's like very clearly, and then have her like with her minions summon Jason from the dead.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
We got
Start knocking up
seconds left. So thank you very much, guys, for watching HorrorCast. Hopefully Friday 13th actually comes out in 2017, October. Take care. Bye for now.
Shit.